Okay, so I threw this idea of elevators at you the other day as almost a different way to describe the type of manager that we are trying to develop. And so I wanted us to just kind of explore that a little bit more deeply and unpack it because we haven't really had a chance to totally unpack it, but I think it was something that I felt a little bit excited about, and I said it to you, and you got excited about it. So I thought, why not, why not unpack it a little bit more here? So I'm curious, just from your perspective, as you've been ruminating on it over the last couple of days, what's like standing out to you about the concept?
Yeah, I mean, I think elevators is such an interesting way to think about an individual in your organization, right? So we've always talked about elevating, our leaders, and we've even named, our process, the Elevate programs. And it's like, so certainly at the core of everything we've ever, really tried to bring to the table is how do we bring the ability to elevate performance, elevate, self-awareness, elevate communication skills. Like there's all these components, but to actually start to characterize somebody as an elevator is super exciting to me because, I mean, you've riffed on this a little bit, but it's this idea, is a manager
It's
really your goal? Like you want, do you want to be a manager?
You think about the word manager, like what are the things that we manage? I manage my problems. You like manage personalities, you manage a calendar. It's like if you actually take a step back and you think about like literally managing people, like that's not an exciting, that doesn't get me excited, and it's not really what we're trying to, the people that come out the other side of our program are like so far beyond just managing people. And like, again, we call our program the Elevate program. So the idea is like, oh, now you have the skills and the capability to actually elevate the people around you and elevate your teams, elevate your organizations, elevate yourself. And you have that whole process. So
So I mean, I think as an individual to see yourself as an elevator, like own that. Like that's what my job is. That's what I want to do. My goal when I show up in my profession and in my world is I want to show my best self. I want to be elevated. I want to be impactful. I want to do those things. I want to do that for my team, right? I want to elevate them, the people around me, make them the best potential for themselves. Obviously, if everybody in an organization is doing that, you're certainly delivering an elevated outcome. Like you're delivering it for your organization at a different level. So to me, it's inspiring, right? Even versus leader.
Yeah.
So if you think about leading, I've been a CEO most of my career, and there is a place in an organization to lead. Like somebody has to own the vision, help keep that beacon of light out there. But if you think about the breadth of people in an organization, it's not really about leading, right? We have a direction. Now it's about how do we best perform to get there? How do we get the most out of our people? How do we make the journey the most enjoyable?
Yeah.
And to me, elevator is a more inspiring way to view your role. It's just not been a word in the vocabulary.
Yeah. And again, this idea the idea of leading too, it's like, that's a very like important thing, but it's also not holistic. Like, again, if you think about the word manager, like what vision does that actually like conjure in your mind? Same with leader. It's like, I'm thinking of this person with like a torch at the front of the line saying, everybody follow me, which is like really important in an organization, but it's only one piece of a bigger puzzle. When you're in middle management, which is a tough spot to be and has, there's a lot of push and pull and there's a lot of different dynamics that you're dealing with. Like if you just say, follow me, and you hope people are getting on board, you're not going to elevate people, right? Like there's going to be a couple people that can like keep up and they're going to move, but that's not going to be everybody. And from like again, the skills that you need to have to elevate somebody, you need to know how to coach people. You need to know how to challenge people. You need to know how to have those tough conversations. And like, there's all these, again, what we've typically classified as like leadership skills that you need to have to really get the best out of your people and push them in a way where they know they're being supported and they're being pushed for the right reasons. But most people don't show up and get their first job as a manager and have that capacity. Because usually you're getting promoted because you're good at your job, which we've talked about this dynamic a lot, right? Where it's like you're a great contributor and you're really high performing and you're really motivated, but have to turn around and now you have to motivate other people and you have to hold them accountable and you have to give feedback and all of those other pieces. It's just a 180. So thinking about all of these skills from the perspective of how do you walk into a room and like give energy and help people get better and help them grow versus feeling like you're just checking boxes and you're getting projects done.
And to connect back to that concept, right? So high performers, right? They tend to be, again, self-motivated. And then they get around people that now they are reporting to them and they're saying, why are these people reacting the way I would react in that situation? You get frustrated, right? So you're not elevating people when you're frustrated, right? You're looking down at people. You're not seeing them as capable. All of a sudden, if you view your job through the lens of being an elevator, that now is your job, is to do that. You're going to give them grace and you're going to see them in a way that, again, that it sees them as capable. And you're going to inspire and say, how do I make them see themselves in that same role? Because in the ultimate situation, everybody around you is an elevator. Mm-hmm. So it's not about you being that uniquely. It's about you inspiring others to do the same. So there's a trickle down and hopefully a trickle up to this whole concept. So, no, I feel like, it's such a provocative word and opportunity just conceptually to start to embrace this idea that you can live in an organization and have such a massive ripple effect because of how you see your role. And it's challenging to yourself because you're trying to elevate yourself. That's part of growth.
Yeah.
But you're also looking as my job is to elevate people around me too and make them great. And I get a kick out of it. I mean, I threw this out the other day, but if you look at Caitlin Clark just as a little snapshot in the world, she's shown this ripple effect through professional sports. And I personally look at it and say, why am I watching WNBA today? Right? The reason I am is because she's an amazing individual contributor. You're always waiting for that moment, for that huge 3-point shot. But really, she's got the most assists in the WNBA. Like, she's making everybody around her better. So to me, she's like the poster child, currently in the world of what is an elevator. Like, she makes the team better while she's performing at a high level. And it's just awesome to watch.
Go Hawks. Well, and also from like the other side of things, right? To be on the receiving end of having a manager as a boss versus an elevator as a boss, like we all know what it feels like to feel like you are being managed, right? And like no one, that's not, again, if somebody is like truly managing you, it's because they see you as a problem or they see you as something that they have to not wrestle with, but like manage. I mean, again, it's just not an inspiring word, but we know what that feels like versus to feel like, oh, this person is pushing me to grow and they believe in me and they want to see me get better. It's like to be on a team with somebody that they are showing up to work every day and they're trying to help me be the best version of myself. Like, I'm so much more excited. And it's interesting to look at the research of like how much your manager has an impact on like your mental health and your experience in an office, because that is, I mean, you think we go to work and you're spending 10 hours a day with these people. Like, if you have somebody above you that isn't trying to help you grow and make you better, like that, you can't ignore it. Like, you can only push that, under the rug for so long, and there's only so much an organization can do to try to make up for it, right? And so just thinking about it from
I think that's that's been the most exciting thing as we started to kick this around, that we have struggled over time with, how do we describe Cohd?
Yeah.
Like, what is the ethos of what we're actually doing? And to me, this is it. Like, this is it. It's, you're putting the tools and you're putting the time on the map to allow people to perfect those tools and work those and solve problems and apply. And it's over a span of time that actually gives you the ability to get to this end.
Yeah.
And to actually find yourself in a place where you can look in the mirror and say, I'm an elevator. Mm-hmm. I'm competent. I'm capable. This is how I show up in my organization. This is how I show up for my people. I have the toolkit to actually coach and listen and take perspective and give feedback and hold accountability, but yet motivate. And that's been such a difficult thing because, again, we've lumped it into this conversation about leadership development, but it's always felt short of the reality of what we've experienced.
Yeah.
And now to actually be able to have maybe our own word, but a word that I think truly does,
Absolutely.
paint the picture and connect with what we're doing.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite, we have everyone do like the exit survey after they finish the program. And like one of my favorite things is when people are saying, yeah, I solve problems differently because of what I've learned. Or like, I know how to deal with interpersonal tensions and challenges like differently now because of what I've learned. And like, again, it's like those types of things where it's not just leadership development. There's a lot of different places you can go to like learn concepts and skills and tools. But unless you actually wrestle with them and practice with them and get help and like you deal with the nuance of it and you apply it and like it becomes sticky, you're not actually going to show up differently. And that's where a lot of these things
Right.
can fall short, right? And so for people to exit our program and say, yes, strongly agree, I deal with problems differently, it's because they've been able to put in the reps, and they've elevated themselves, right? Like that's an elevator. Somebody that like stress and tension shows up, and I have the mindfulness to pause and take a deep breath and understand the dynamics that are going on and understand what's actually going to help me get where I want to go, not just gut reaction, which is what most of us do when we're under stress and pressure. We're like, there's a
Absolutely.
problem, I got to solve it. And it takes a lot of conscientiousness to be able to take a step back and say, what do I actually want in this situation and what's the best way for me to handle it? And it's like that's the big aha, and that's where like the impact really starts to show up. I was in a class the other day, and one of the participants was like, I just want to let you know, like my coworkers are telling me, my boss like was telling me that they have seen a difference. And it's like that's because what we're doing, like you can't not see the difference
Yeah.
when people really are just showing up differently. Like it is an elevated approach to all of the stuff that gets thrown at us on a daily basis, because the reality of our lives isn't changing, but the way that we choose to respond to it can. And like to me, that's a big distinction. And leadership tools are great, but if you don't know how to actually use them and you don't have the wherewithal to pause and actually pick one and be masterful at it, then it's just a nice idea.
Well, and I think that's the cool thing about this word and about the conversation is I mean, how many countless times have we had in the last 5 years had people thank you
Yeah.
because all of a sudden they find themselves in a different place. Like they reacted to that situation completely counter to how they always would have reacted to it because they had perspective, they had tools. And to your point, people around you will start to treat you differently, they see you differently because you are bringing more value. You are elevating the people around you.
Anyway, so that's an elevator in like a
Cool.
nutshell.